Now you tell the rest.
Now what happened in the green room?
So Jobs.
But you have to know that's the background. You have to know that.
Gates wasn't sitting in the audience.
No, but he heard it.
Someone
right away. Are you kidding?
immediately texted
and his
it.
PR people told him.
So here's the issue. Jobs couldn't resist. That is just what it was like. These are the most famous people in tech, and he just couldn't resist. It was like the kid who likes to, give someone a wedgie. It was like, here you go, just tonight. And we were always like, high level. Oh, Jesus. And I was standing in the back with Katie Cotton, and Larry might have been there, and we were like, no. Like, oh, good God, he just insulted him.
And I was sitting there with him and thinking, oh no.
Exactly. So we thought Gates might pull out, and Gates is already not the most social of people, in general. So he walked into the green room, and it was tense. It was kind of thing. But he was by himself.
Yeah, because he wasn't. Larry was with him.
Anyway, he walked into the green room.
We had a green room meeting, which we typically don't do because it was an unusual thing, and like an hour and a half before they were going to go on, we had was going to be a 10-minute thing in the green room.
So Jobs comes in, Gates comes in first,
right.
And he's like monotone. He's already not, he's not a charming man to chat with in general, but he was like, yes, no, yes. And I was like, oh God, this is going to suck. And he was angry. He was clearly angry.
Yeah, he was
and
quite
then
angry.
Jobs walks in and he's smiling ear to ear and he's like, I got him. Like, he did. He was like, you could see him. He was like radiating. I got you again. You're the richest man in the world, but I just got you.
And as in many green rooms, and I noticed you didn't have this for us tonight, that we had a table with like fruit and beverages and things. Jobs pulled a bottle of water out of a bowl of ice.
Right. But first,
sat down.
But first, Gates finally he answered a question. Gates answered the question fully, and we asked him a question, and he goes, "How would I know? I run hell." And Jobs takes the ice water with the condensation coming after it, and he goes, "Here, Bill, let me help you." And he handed him the thing, and literally it broke the ice, so to speak. And they laughed, and thank God that happened because it was just.
Bill deserves credit.
That really broke.
But he
the
still didn't want to take a. We had these beautiful Kodak photographers there.
Kodak was a sponsor that year, and one of the things they did was they sent a super pro photographer.
That itself, by the way, we may want to pause to note that Kodak was a sponsor.
Right.
It's not long ago.
They sent a very good professional photographer with a beautiful digital camera. I don't know,
gorgeous
$10,000
pictures.
camera.
That was the picture of my kids. Was one of those cameras.
And we had all the speakers go to the kind of the back of the green room, and Gates didn't want to pose for the.
He didn't want to pose with Jobs, and I finally said, in 100 years, when you're really dead, this is going to be the picture that's going to be in the history book. And he wouldn't do it still, and Jobs convinced him to do it. It was it was a fascinating moment. I literally was like, "You're gonna be dead. You're gonna be dead.
So
someday you'll be dead." You know what I mean? Think about dead. So going back, it just was amazing, and that's a beautiful portrait of the two of them. I have to say, it's gorgeous.
I don't know if you have it. It's not an on-stage thing.
But it was the greatest interview we did.
Yeah, I mean,
and that interview at the end of it, there was a standing ovation.
People crying.
And there were people crying, which says something about the tech world because. As much as I admire both of these men, and I do, and as much as I'm proud that we got them together on stage, it really wasn't like having, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. on stage or something like that. And yet, to this audience, these people were like gods together.
They're the twin icons of tech, really.
Let's close. Okay. You were so good at drawing these guys out that you managed to get both of them to speak about their legacies and how they thought they would be remembered. Gates is first.
Well, the most important work I got a chance to be involved in, no matter what I do, is the personal computer. That's what I grew up, my teens, my 20s, my 30s. I even knew not to get married until later because I was so obsessed with it. That's my life's work. The thing that if you look inside my brain, it's filled with software and, the magic of software and a belief in software. That's not going to change.
I sort of look at us as two of the luckiest guys on the planet because we found what we loved to do and we were at the right place at the right time. And we've gotten to go to work every day with super bright people for 30 years and do what we love doing. And so it's hard to be happier than that, your family and that. What more can you ask for? And so I don't think about legacy much. I just think about being able to get up every day and go in and hang around these great people and hopefully create something that other people will love as much as we do.
True. Well said.
As we've said, you can see all the interviews on AllThingsD. I have to say, it's a really The more I watch it, the more moved I am.
And you have
by
to
it.
remember that as big as these companies are, and Apple is now, bigger, which is amazing to people who remember the past, but Microsoft at the one time was considered like the behemoth, the Standard Oil. It was often compared to Standard Oil. These guys started as startups, just like some of you in the room,
In
just like
garages.
people in garages, or well,
Certainly
Gates.
Jobs did.
Gates started in a
Arizona.
retail space, like an office space over a retail store in Albuquerque. His family had more money than Jobs's, and Jobs started in his father's garage. But the point is, they started with a handful of people. At one point in that interview, Jobs, we were talking about Microsoft supplying the BASIC that was on the Apple II computer, and Steve said, and we kept begging Wozniak, his partner, to write this better version of BASIC. And I stopped him and I said, "Who's we?" And he stopped for a second and said, "Well, me, I guess," because it was just the two of them.
Right.
And I asked Gates, they were telling the story, how many people were at Microsoft, and I can't remember the number, but it was like 6 or 7.
6, yeah.
So they were just like any of you that are starting a company.
Which is one of the things we always are trying to get at D, is we want to ask the tough questions, but we also want to ask the insightful questions and the ones that illuminate, because we're not gotcha people, although we often get you. We want to bring out the humanity in technology, like that it is about humans, and I think that's one of the great things we do at these conferences.
Okay, I have some humanity questions. So it's no secret that and we're about to end here, that James Lipton's Inside the Actor Studio was an impetus for the show. So
Well, you're not creepy like he is, though.
I appreciate that.
Let's be honest.
I appreciate that. So you may remember at the end of the show, there's some quick questions. You got to go.
I'm not going to ask about that French guy.
All right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Walt's first.
Okay.
Yeah.
The best person in the tech sector to be the American president would be.
Best person in the tech
Quick,
sector to be
Walt.
the American
Oh,
president.
one answer.
God. Walt, it's not deliberate.
Sheryl
Go.
Sandberg.
You're gonna have
Sheryl Sandberg. Good answer.
Cheryl, you helped him.
Yes, of course.
That's what. Oh.
That's what partners do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another lesson. If you're
The-
starting
the-
a company, find a great partner
Right.
that isn't exactly like you.
The journalist I most read, who is not on AllThingsD, is
Gail Collins.
the Red Sox.
Oh, God.
Over or under 500 this year?
I don't even know what that means.
Right around 500. Right around 500.
Way to commit. Way to commit.
No, that's really what I believe.
Complete the following sentence. The internet used to be.
Just for scientists and researchers.
I love Kara because.
She is a fantastic human being, separate from how great a journalist she is. I don't love her because she's a great journalist. She is. I love her for the wonderful human being she is.
Kara's turn. Stranded on a desert island.
Yeah.
You can have one web service. Which one is it?
Twitter. Or Instagram. Instagram more and more.
The most underrated tech executive in the world is.
Oh, that's tough. They're so egomaniacal. Dropbox guy, Drew Houston.
The journalist I most read who's not at AllThingsD is.
Oh, Frank Rich.
Complete the following sentence. The internet is going to be.
Invisible.
I love Walt because he.
He's the best man ever, and I'm so happy to be married to him for so long.
Kara and Walt, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for coming to the garage. All right. We ran a little long. It's my first,
Yeah.
I'm
We were
not.
watching- I was
like-
watching the
I'm
clock
not
there.
veteran.
You gotta
I'm
have a
not
clock
veteran
here.
like
We
you.
always have a clock.
No, I have plenty of clock.
Yeah,
Don't
all right.
worry.
Quickly.
Can we do a couple of? Let's do
Sure.
3 questions.
Okay.
David.
Got to go to a microphone.
Yeah.
How long until
Just go.
Just go ahead.
They'll get the microphone to you.
how long until Facebook is no longer the dominant platform or a dominant platform? How's that?
It's a very good question. I think people thought AOL was never going to end, and it did. Or it's still there. And I had dinner with Tim Armstrong last night, actually, so I shouldn't say it's not there. It definitely has to fight for its survival. It's not going to be the dominant. The internet eats its. In the internet, it eats its old. The young eats its old, and so I don't know when, but it will come.
let's do one more.
So since you're speaking in a university to a class and a bunch of other students, I was wondering if you had any advice for students, both journalism students, students who are looking to get into the tech sector, and students just as young people now who are living in an increasingly technological world.
Well, just from a career perspective, for women especially in technology, I don't know if you've noticed, it's kind of a sausage fest. I would say don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, and don't even ask for forgiveness. You know what I mean? There's a lot of may I've noticed among a lot of people, you know, or I've got one recently, a big tech person who is out of a job came to me and was saying, you know, I don't know what to do next, what do you think? And I've been offered this, 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 and this. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And they said, well, I've been offered this, 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 and this. And I said, what is it, like a menu at a restaurant? What do you want to do? And they never thought of their lives like that. And the minute I started to decide what I wanted to do was when my career truly took off.
And you know, that's also true for me. So maybe we're not typical, but I think we are typical of people who found a career that was satisfying, which is you have to take a certain amount of control. Now, I understand that it's very hard out there right now. I'm not saying you shouldn't work. It's like a bad idea to work for somebody else for a while, even if you don't want to. Both of us did, as you know from the history, which we went through, both of us did some jobs that weren't as satisfying as other jobs were later. But eventually, you've got to set your own course. And that's particularly true in journalism. It's one thing if you can code. If you can code, you're probably going to be okay somehow. If you're a journalist, this is a terrible time for publishers. It's not a terrible time for journalists. It's actually a great age for journalism, but you have to be entrepreneurial about it in every sense of the word. So it might mean that you have to have a business, some business sense, but it might just mean that by entrepreneurial that you have to figure out a way to do something somebody else isn't doing, which is what I think I did when I started my tech column. It was one of the last tech columns in a paper, but it was different. So you think of something other people aren't doing, and then you have to sell yourself without violating ethics. And can we say something? One of the things that binds us together is that we believe very strongly in journalistic ethics, and it actually comes from quality, old, dead tree newspapers. Not there's a lot of bad ethics in newspapers. I'm not saying there isn't bad ethics in that industry, but the best journalism which preceded the internet and preceded even AOL was built on a foundation of, this kind of rigorous sourcing. You can't be a consultant and a reporter at the same time. You can't, all those things. And that's really lies at the foundation of AllThingsD.
And be a reporter. I mean, I don't know how else to say it to people. There's such value in reporting. And so many people I was just having drinks with a guy named Tim Carmody who works for The Wire, and he said something really smart about what's important. And he said news that you get handed is cheap. Opinion is free. Scoops or reporting is golden, and perspective is rare. And that is absolutely true. If you can do reporting and get perspective via the reporting, there's no way you're not going to win. And the other part is you're a very lucky person. You live in the United States. You have a life that's very easy, and we forget that every minute of the day. There are people in this world suffering in terrible ways. And you hear a lot of people, oh, I don't believe this, I'm happy with this, and I'm thinking.
Is this when we announce to our staff that because they live in the United States, they're all getting a 50% pay cut?
Yes, exactly, yeah. But I mean, I just think you have a lot of chances that more than other people do. And so to sort of sit and complain about it is something we don't do. We just move on. Just like tech people, we move on.
Kara Swisher and Walt Mossberg, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much.